Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome along to this week's Rock Your Brand live stream. I hope you are well, and if you are watching the replay, thank you for catching up on this stream. So today we're going to be, well, it is planned to be a logo design Q&A session. If nobody joins us live and doesn't ask any questions, we have a couple of logos that we can review and hopefully learn from in lieu of getting any questions. There were a couple of questions that were asked in the community page on the Rock Your Brand YouTube page, so I'll be able to go through those and answer those couple of questions that were there, and then we could move on to the logo reviews. So for those who regularly attend, we did skip a week, so this week I decided to do two things, which was the logo design Q&A and also the logo reviews, just to make up for missing a few things last time. So, right, let me just check that everything is okay with the stream health. If you are watching, please say hello in the chat so that I know that you're here. It's one of the worst things about live streams is trying to pad out a little bit just to let people join on, which is a bit frustrating for you guys who have joined the replay, and you have to kind of go through this stuff. But I just want to make sure that the stream settings are all good. Everything is public. Yeah, looks like we're all good. So what I'll do is let's jump over to the community channel and let's have a look at the couple of questions that were asked there, and we can go through those until anyone joins us on the live chat. So I think we need to scroll down a little bit. I'm sure there was a question from last week's stream, so let's just go down a bit. Yeah, I think there was one in here. Okay, so yeah, so Esteban asked a question saying that he's been working on an icon that comes from a real human character. He's introduced the forms to three objects, a top, a bottom, and a surrounding shape. It is very recognizable, both the icon and the character it makes reference to. But now it's just too simple, and anything I try makes it look gimmicky, like I'm just putting filters on or an effect over it. It looks like it came out of a free icon website rather than a logo, and I've just realized I've been calling the logo an icon. Sorry if the question is too complicated. I was actually recording a time lapse of my process but didn't make it in time to present it for your critique. Okay, so it can be a tricky thing, the difference between an icon and a logo. I'm sure there is a definitive sort of description or reasoning behind the differences. But with a logo, with an icon is generally representing an action of some sort, in my opinion, like an email, send an email, visit the website, make a telephone call. So it's representing an action, whereas a logo has more meaning behind it. And also as well, the logo is going to be, usually if it's a combination mark, then it's going to have a word next to it, name of the company or whatever, whereas an icon is going to just be that. It's just going to be an icon. So I get what you're saying, and there's been lots of times where I've designed logos, and the difficulty comes when it's very simple, like you've said in your message there, that you've simplified it right down, and now it feels like it's too simple, so simple it just looks like an icon you could get out of a stock site. But you could say that about so many logos, even logos from big brands. You could say that kind of looks like a stock icon. But the thing around logos is that the logo is being used as part of a wider set of, it's just part of the brand identity. The logo is, taking place or taking part in a conversation that's, got personality, tone of voice, imagery, color, all of that works together with the logo. And in a way, the logo is an icon in that it's there to make people think about the wider brand. So when they recognize the logo, it's triggering, memories or experiences of what they know about the brand. Now, if they don't know anything about the brand, then it's just going to be, a logo. And, you could say it does look like an icon, but it's up to the brand to get their message out there and promote the brand. You can't just create a logo and expect it to do all the work. So an icon's job is different to that of a logo. You could probably do a whole thing on this, and I'm not really prepared today to go into the deep ins and outs of it. All I would say, Esteban, is don't try not to overthink it. If your logo has been designed with, from the right place, looks like you've done your research, and you're bringing in the elements of the brand that you want to, and you're creating this symbol. And one of the things that a lot of logo designers say, it's not what you add to a logo, it's what you take away. How simple can you get it so that it still holds the concept and the meaning? Then that's what you do. And then you tie that up with the typography, and that becomes the logo. And it's imbuing the brand and the archetypes and the personality and what the brand sort of warmth, or if it's cool, calm. This is where the colors come into that, and help that. With an icon, the icon is just there for that one action. A logo is not there for one action. A logo is there, in my opinion, a logo is there to tell a wider story. So maybe just kind of having gone through that would be my difference, is an icon is there for one action, one instruction, whereas a logo is there to help tell the story of the brand and make people think about the brand and give them that first impression. I may have rambled a bit there, but it's such a fine line, isn't it? Icon, logo. I mean, that's why some people call the logo mark in a logo. Some people call it an icon. I usually call it a symbol. But what's the difference between a symbol and an icon? The same thing. So, a couple of people have joined. Hey Tashinga, hey Plugged In. Plugged In is saying, hi, are there any good sites to help with coming up with brand names or company names or logos or taglines? There's probably lots of sites out there, Plugged In, for like name generators and things like that. I've used a few in my time when I'm struggling with clients to, for trying to come up with a name. They're not all great, but what I find is that they're often good enough to give you a starting point. Something that can be like, oh, that's quite interesting. I wonder where we can go with that. The difficulty with most names is getting domain names, especially if you want to get the domain name, which is the company name, which is why you find a lot of new companies starting that just make up words. The company name is a completely made up word, which helps them get domain names. One of the tricks which people use is to have words and then they remove letters so that it still kind of looks like the word, but letters are missing. So there was one which I wonder if I can find it here whilst we're sort of on Google. Is it that Aberdeen? Yeah. So this is a brand that changed their name very recently, and they were called Aberdeen, so Aberdeen, and they rebranded very recently, and they took all of the E's out of the name, so it's now Aberdeen, and I'll be honest and say I am not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of removing letters because it makes it difficult for people to find you if they're looking for you by name. So if I was to say to you, if you asked me, if I worked for this company and you said, oh, what company do you work for? And I say, oh, I work for Aberdeen. How would you spell Aberdeen when you're doing a Google search? It's probably not ABRDN, Aberdeen. You're probably going to put some E's into there. So, that's just my bugbear about things like that. I mean, Flickr as well. Flickr have done the same. And I've not actually looked into the story of this rebrand, so I'm not going to be too critical in terms of that, because I hate being overly critical of brands without knowing the behind the scenes. But from a surface level perspective, in terms of if somebody said, oh, you should go check out Aberdeen, I wouldn't. I'd be typing in Aberdeen, and I don't know if this would come up or not. So it could be a bit frustrating from that point of view. But in terms of sort of, name generators, I don't have anything which I use. I can't say, oh, I use this one. But there's one business name generator. There's one here. Looks like I've maybe used this one before because the link was blue. But if you're kind of struggling, so this one's called Namealix, and then it asks you to put in a couple of words. So if I put in, I'll put in Rock Your Brand, see what it comes up with. So it asks you if you want short names, medium names, or long names. So shorter the better, usually. So let's just hit that, and what that'll do is I'll just use some sort of AI to try and bring some stuff up. So I don't know where Shippy's come from, but you can see here it struggled. Rockmark, Rockbed, Moog, yeah, hit and miss, very hit and miss. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Hey Dolly, thanks for joining. Yeah, the day's been good. It was a mad rush to get live, though. I was like bang on 7 o'clock getting everything set up, so and my mic wasn't working for a bit, so I managed to get that working. Who else has joined? Hassan is saying, I have problems about generating design ideas, font selection, and color contrast. Please will you help me to understand it and solve my problem? It is a tricky thing, Hassan. Idea generation really kind of comes down to just experience in a way. I do have a couple of videos on the channel. I think I've got one about, coming up with ideas and where to look. The biggest thing is really just to absorb as much as you can, read books, get out, don't just sit down and expect to have ideas flow out of your head. It doesn't work that way. Maybe it might work that way for some, but I know it doesn't work that way for me. I have to, really immerse myself into the area or the industry of the project that I'm working on, look at the competitors, look at their customers, what kind of stuff's being said about them. And then what I'll do is I'll usually do that for a day. I'll really immerse myself into the industry sector for a day, and then I'll take a break from it for a few days and just let that kind of mull around in the back of my head. Because the problem is, if you immerse yourself and then you're trying to come up with ideas, it can be too forced and you can get really stressed about it, a bit anxious, and that doesn't really help with creativity. So I find taking a few days away, then what I do is I come back and I will sit down and I will make notes about what I remember from my research a few days before. And usually the things that I remember are the strongest parts of what I was looking at. So it's the key things, the things that are the strongest. And I'll write those down. I'll maybe do a mind map or something. And then I'll just try to create ideas from that. I'll use that as my starting point. But yeah, I mean, you can go on to, you can look at logo design books, logo reference books. You could look at logo design websites. The negative thing of looking at logo design websites when you're looking for inspiration is that you can end up being influenced by all of the logos that you're seeing. And I'm not saying that you would deliberately copy something, but you may be sketching away and come up with an idea or a concept and think, oh, that's a great idea. That's, it's a really original idea. But actually, it's something that you've seen on one of the logo sites and you're just kind of subconsciously remembering it and drawing it. There are so many logos out there in the world, millions of them, that, and I have this discussion a lot, that the chances are something you design probably exists in some way or another, either maybe not exactly the same, but very, very close to it. I kind of got over that anxiety a little while ago, kind of going, oh, that looks really close to this, or that looks really close to that. For me, if I've come up with a logo and it's in my head, it's an original design that's come from my research, and the logo design is based on input and concepts based on that research, then to me it's an original logo. I may then do a search and I may find a logo which looks similar to it. If that logo is in a completely different industry to my clients, I don't worry about it. If I find a logo which looks the same and that other business is in the same industry as my client, I'll start again, because you don't want the logo to be the same. It needs to be different. You can look at you can look at things like, you could choose a simple shape like a star and look at brands that use a star. There'll be lots and lots of brands that have a star in their logo, and they're all okay to use it because they're in different industry sectors. So it's okay to have, for your logo to look a little bit similar. I know that, the things that we, the four key areas, I don't know if you can read this, but the 4 key areas that we have generally when I'm designing a logo is that it's simple, it's memorable, it's distinctive, and it's appropriate. I don't have in there that it's unique. I know that some people say unique. It's very difficult to be unique, that one-off. It's not like nothing else. I'm a big believer that something probably already exists out there for something that you design. But if it's designed from an original standpoint and nobody else in that industry sector has trademarked it, then I don't really see it as being an issue. That's my opinion. Others may disagree, but that's how I work. Otherwise, you can get really stressed about it and then never produce anything because everything looks a little bit like something else. I've had people say logos look exactly like other logos, and then when you hold up the other logo next to it, they don't look exactly the same. It's just that in your mind, you're like, oh, that looks exactly like that. But when you look at them together, they don't look the same. So I don't want to labor the point on that, but that's just to kind of be careful, that you don't get too guided by looking at other people's logos. Do your own research, kind of distance yourself from it and just sketch. And don't be worried about your sketches looking terrible. You're not trying to draw a final logo from the start. You're just trying to get ideas down onto a piece of paper. I'm terrible at drawing. I'm really bad at drawing. But I get my ideas down on paper, and that's the key thing. And another key thing is you need to be sketching for at least an hour. It's after that first hour that the really good designs or ideas will start to come through. The first hour I find is just getting through all of the usual suspects, all of the ideas that have probably already been done, because they're the easiest ideas to come out of your head. The way to come up with an original logo design is to push through and just keep digging and keep evolving and keep tweaking things. Oh, that's a nice shape that I've made there. I wonder what I can do with that. How can I link that into what I'm trying to create here for this customer? Just keep going. And then if you get tired, take a break and then come back at it. Because it might be that you look at something that you dismissed and think, actually, that's really good. Now that I've had time away from it, that's a really good concept to go forward with. and I've done that many a time as well. I'll just quickly catch up with the chat. Plugged in saying, yes, I also feel like clarity in the brand and logo is something I won't focus on. So I'm not a fan of taking letters out, or as you mentioned before, working heavily on the first letter of the logo. I don't mind working on the first letter of a logo. I've done it quite a lot, and I actually had a sign off on a logo yesterday where I've focused on the first letter of the logo as the logo mark. What I don't do is I don't make the logo mark the actual letter of the word. So, for example, yesterday it was a W. So in the client's name, which begins with W, I don't use the symbol as that W. The symbol is separate, and then you have the name starting in a standard, font next to it. I'm not a fan of having the symbol replace a letter. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say. I won't create, a logo mark of a letter and then replace that letter inside the word. I'm not keen on that. I think that's quite limiting as well, because it can make either you look at it and if it's the first letter, your brain sort of ignores the first letter and then you read the rest of it as the word, or if you drop it into the middle of a word, it can often look like two words separated by an image in the middle. So you need to if you're going to do that, it needs to be done really, really well so that you still read the word smoothly and it doesn't break it all up. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here a little bit. Get some beer foam stuck to my moustache. So that was this was the website for looking up names. There was something I was going to skip back to. Hassan mentioned color contrast. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by color contrast, Hassan. Is it just finding colors that work together, or actual contrast so that, words stick out from the background and the colors don't look too much the same? There's lots of websites that can help you with color palettes. So there's one called Coolors, which is COOLORS. If you sort of look for Coolors. Oh, all these pop-ups. That will generate colors for you. And you basically just hit your space bar and it will generate different color palettes. Now, this is kind of random. It's just going to keep showing you random color palettes. Generally, when you're working with a client, you probably have an idea of the type of color that you want to use with them. So maybe they're, creative and warm, and so orange is probably a good color. And so what you can do is, if you do a color palette, you can actually you can click on this little padlock here and it will lock a color into place. And when you hit the space bar, that color will always stay. And so you can kind of generate colors around this main color. So this is, could be a good color palette for maybe an accountancy firm that wanted to come across as more creative and warm in their personality, but they still wanted that coolness and authority and professionalism from the fact that they're accountants. So you've got, the mix of both there, plus orange and blue are nice complementary colors. So you can kind of do that, and you can lock as many as you want. So let's say, I like that orange and I think it works really well with this sort of steel blue. You can lock both of those and then just change the colors around them. You can actually get this as a plugin for the Adobe apps. I've got this as a plugin for Illustrator. So actually it runs inside Illustrator. I think it's this. I think it is. Yeah. So, yeah, it is. It's this because I've got a sign in for it. And so I can actually choose palettes inside Illustrator, or what I can do is when I find a palette that I like, I can export it and you can see here, you can export it as an ASE file. So that's a file that you can put into a folder of your Adobe software, and it will open it up as a color palette inside your Adobe software. So that's a really cool thing to have for that. Okay, so that's one. That's just one, but it's a handy one. But if you just do a Google search for color palette generator, then you can do that. When it comes to colors, I do recommend that you do some reading up on color psychology so that you understand what the different colors can mean from a psychological standpoint, both positive and negative. It's important to know the negative sides of it, and depending on where your client is based in the world, you're going to want to know what that color means for that particular culture. So for example, I could get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that white in Japan is associated with death, whereas black over here is associated with death. So you've got two polar opposites there. So you need to be careful that you're not using a color that in one culture means a positive thing, and so you just use it as a global thing, but actually in certain countries it could be a very big mistake to use that color because it has such negative feelings for people. So do some research on your color psychology, and that will help you as well. Esteban saying, I asked a convoluted question. Hey Esteban, I actually answered your question. It looks like I answered it before you joined the stream. So if you wait till the stream's finished, you can skip back and watch the replay. Or I don't know if you can actually, whilst you're watching this, I don't know if you can skip back on the timeline, but I did have a go at it. It's not an easy question to answer, but I did have a go trying to give you a little bit of positivity around it, I suppose, because I know how difficult it is to kind of sometimes separate an icon from a logo. But I would say, you're designing it from the right place, and I would say it's still a logo. Even though you think it looks like an icon, I would still class it as a logo. But you can always have a look back at what I've said, okay, and hopefully that helps. I seemingly I've missed. I'm Tishengi saying I missed his message. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up. So I want to upload a personal icon I made for myself. Do I need to share a lot of info if it's just like a personal icon I designed? Maybe you can give a few criticisms on my design. If it's a logo that you want me to review, then please upload it, submit it. I'll put the link into the chat that you need to use. I won't be able to review it today, Tashinga, but if you submit it, then I should be able to review it over the next couple of weeks. It's not .logo. Logo. So if you copy and paste that link into your browser, you'll get to the submission form for that. But yeah, I'd be happy to take a look at that for you. I had asked people to send in logos, and most people are sending in logo. Well, I don't know if most, I would say 50-50. I'd say 50% of the logos I'm being submitted are for businesses, and the other 50 are more personal work that people are doing for themselves. I don't mind that. The only thing I don't want to be reviewing are logos for 30-day challenges and things like that. I'm not going to waste my time reviewing those logos. But if it's a logo for a personal project, something that you're deeply interested in, then I'll take a look at it. Happy to do that. Esteban saying, oh damn, I had the stream on but couldn't sit at the computer till now. Thanks. No worries. I didn't see you. Normally I see you join and type in the chat earlier on, so I didn't think you could make it this week. So I just thought, well, I'll get that answered and done. I just want to quickly check up. There was there's a couple here. How can I make a logo for sale on a stock site? Well, basically you just create a logo, and a lot of the stock sites will let you submit that logo to sell as a stock image. You need to make sure that it's an original logo though, and it's not one that, you know, I see places like Fiverr, etc. And some of the stock sites have fallen foul of people uploading other people's logo designs and selling them as stock images. So just make sure that when you upload the logo, it is an original design by you and not something that's been redrawn, you know, or copied from someone else. I'm not saying that you would do that. I'm just saying that has happened, and you know, you can run into a lot of bother. Put it that way. But yeah, you can create your logo, and a lot of places will sell it as a stock logo design. It's not something I've done myself, but I know that you can do it. How can I get clients for logo designs to sell? That's a longer answer. There's a lot of work that goes into getting clients, and I'll probably do. I may do something in the future, but I am in the background right now. I am setting up a course to help designers get better clients, get more confidence around themselves, increase their pricing, all that stuff that as designers we find difficult. Not everyone finds it difficult, but a lot of people in design find the sales part difficult and getting new clients and leads difficult. So I'm actually putting together a course that I will be advertising that will help people to do that, to get more clients, and techniques and tips and stuff on how to do that. But it's taking a while to get done because I'm having to do it in my spare time around working for my own clients. But it is ongoing, and I have actually got my own business coach who is helping me to do that. So keep your eyes open for that, and that will be along soon. And then I know that we definitely had some questions on this week's one. Let's see. Oh, there's Hassan's question in the thing. So hopefully I've answered some of that for you, Hassan. And then someone asked, what's the difference of making a logo out of clip art? And then the key features of the logo and clip art. Right. My first piece of advice would be, don't make logos out of clip art. Okay? It's just not a good way to make logos. Logos for me are something that are original and they're created, by the designer. Taking a piece of clip art and just typing a name underneath it, technically, yes, that's a logo, but it's not thinking about the client. It's not thinking about their industry. It's not creating something. It's not following these 4 steps, in my opinion. And I will say that a lot, in my opinion, because it's just my opinion, and some people will disagree. But with clip art, you're also going to run into the issue of it's clip art. So how many hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people are using that piece of clip art? We don't know, because it's clip art, so it's free for anyone to use. So if you design a logo for a client using clip art, what happens when that client goes to try to register that logo as a trademark? There's probably 2 issues. First issue is that there's lots of people already using that piece of clip art. And the second issue is that there's probably something in the licensing that, yes, you can use that clip art for commercial purposes, but often in the small print, it says you cannot use it as part of a logo design. You always need to read the small print on free clip art. Even on stock sites where you pay for the vector artwork or the photograph or whatever, you're paying for it, and you can use it. You can put it on t-shirts, you can sell a t-shirt with a design on it, whatever. But it will probably say you can't use it in a logo design. So that's the biggest thing I would say. Is I would just say avoid using clip art altogether for logo design. Just avoid it. Develop your skills in design tools. You know, if you can't afford Adobe Illustrator, then you could maybe get Affinity Designer. If you can't afford that, use Inkscape. Inkscape's free, you know, and just practice using the tools, get better at creating shapes, and create your own logo designs. Don't use clip art. You can maybe use clip art as a guide, you know, if you're not sure how to kind of make a shape or something, then use it as a reference, but don't use it in the actual logo. It's not a good way to go. Tashinga saying, how do you normally deal with designing a logo for a company that has a long name, like 4 words rather than 1-word logos? Usually, well, when someone comes to me, we'll have a discussion around the name, because if they're going to be either creating a new logo, so let's say it's a new company, or it's a company that's looking to rebrand and they're looking to change the look and feel of their identity, then it's probably as good a time as any to look at the name and think, right, should we change the name as well? Is there something we can do with the name? Can we shorten it in some way? Can we make it an acronym? Can we just use the 4 letters and create a symbol that sits with those 4 letters? There's lots of discussions that you can have, and sometimes it's just a no-go. No, you have to use. We have to use that name, and you just have to do the best that you can with it. Obviously, if it's a long name, you don't want each word one after the other, because then the logo is going to be, you know, this wide. So the only option really is to stack it so that you're keeping the width as narrow as you can. Depending on what the words are, you may be able to do something creative with it. It might be that the name could go around a circle and you have a symbol inside. So you could maybe create a shield or an emblem or a crest, and the name is part of the crest. That would get away from sort of having it, you know, too wide a logo. You could do something with that. There's usually a creative solution to it. I would, you know, rather than be put off with it, take it on as a creative challenge. You know, what can we do with this that can still make it work and look good as a logo? But I would say if someone's coming to you and they're looking for a new logo, then have the conversation. Would you be open to changing the name? Do you feel that the name is too long? You know, does the name fit? Does the name make sense for the brand? I work with a lot of accountants, and a lot of accountancy firms, when they start, like lawyer firms and you know, things like that, it tends to be the names of the people that started the business. So you can then have, you know, surname, and surname. So when someone comes for a rebrand, it's usually because they want the business to come across differently. They want it to have more personality. So that's a good point to say, right, well, let's drop the surnames and let's come up with an actual brand name that reflects the personality or the target audience or something around the brand, which is shorter. Just have that conversation. It may be that they haven't even thought about changing the name. So the fact that you speak to them and open up the conversation and say, have you actually thought whether this is the best name for the brand? Do you know, maybe it's actually hindering you. Have you asked your customers, what do they think? Actually ask them, what do their customers call you? Because the chances are the customer won't be saying name, and name when they refer you. They've probably shortened it down to something. A good example of that is I work alongside another agency. I do a lot of work with them, and they're actually they specialize in working with accountancy firms, and I help them out with the brand work for that. And the company that I do the work for, they were called the Profitable Firm, right? So the reason that they were called the Profitable Firm, they're a creative agency, was that name sort of spoke to their target audience of accountants. You know, profitability, profitable, that's the type of language that accountants use. So it kind of spoke to them. But it's a bit of a mouthful, you know, the profitable firm. It's quite long. And I think the profitable firm is maybe about 7 or 8 years old now. And recently they shortened their name down to 2 letters, PF, profitable firm, because that's how they started to refer to themselves, but it's also how their customers refer to them. Their customers would say, oh yeah, we're working with PF. And so when your customers start using that, you can reflect that back at them and change the name. So the website domain used to be theprofitablefirm.com. It's now wearepf.com. Much shorter, easier for email addresses, easier to refer to someone. So have that conversation. Naming can be hard. I find coming up with names much harder than coming up with logos. I do. I find it really, really hard, especially when you're trying to get all the social media handles and domain names, check the trademark and that no one else has already got it in your industry. It can be quite a lengthy process. So one piece of advice, and I've learned this the hard way, you're probably trying to get the logo design work, and it's very tempting to say, if you give me the logo design work, I will help you come up with a new name, right? And you'll probably say, and I'll do that for the cost of the logo design work. I can probably pretty much guarantee that you will spend way more time trying to come up with a name than you will ever spend working on the logo. And you will regret ever saying you helped them with the name. So for me, naming is an entirely separate service. If a client wants me to help them come up with a new name, that's a separate project. And I will charge for that separately from a logo design. Or I will say, okay, we'll do naming and then we'll do logo design. Here's the price for that as a package. Don't be tempted to just do it for free, because it does take quite a bit of time to do. Again, probably a long answer to your question, but I think people think naming can be easy. And I have gone off on a tangent. You've asked what's it like working with, long names, and I've given the answer to that. But I do think it's important that if you get into that conversation about changing the name, you realize what you're getting yourself into when it comes to doing stuff like that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And what's it? That could be plagiarism as well, isn't it? I'm not sure what that's referring to. Maybe the clip art stuff. Is that in reference to me saying using clip art as reference material? Maybe. Are there any books you would recommend for logo designs? Plugged in, is that books in terms of reference, so you can kind of look at what's already out there? Let me just grab some books. So I'm actually, let me go back to chat so you've got a bigger window. I'm actually at my home office just now, so most of my books are at my office. But I really like the Logo Lounge books. I think we're on Logo Lounge 12 at the minute. So I've got books 1 to 11. And basically they're just full of logos, and they're categorized into different categories. So you'll have like typography, symbols, monograms, animals, and they're good to just kind of flick through and get some inspiration, see what other designers are creating. As I say, there are pros and cons to it. You can end up latching onto an idea and desperately then trying not to copy it. You're like, oh no, I've seen that, I need to do something different. But it's always good to just, I thumb through these sort of like on a Sunday or whatever, just when I'm, just have a look at what people are doing, not specifically when I'm doing logo design projects. I just like to have a look through them just to see what, other people's styles, because that's something as well. Everybody, people tend to have a style. You may not think you have a style, but, when you look at all of your logos together, usually there's something which is, kind of ties them together in some way. And so it's always good to see, what other people are doing. And I do like to, if I see a style that I like, not particularly like a logo, but if I see a style or a way of doing something, I'll try that out myself. And that can take you down a different route when you're creating logos, which can be handy. So these are the Logo Lounge books. They actually have an online membership as well. I think it's $100 a year. And so basically it's like an online version of this, so you can search through lots of logos. But what you can also do is, if you're a member, you can submit your own logos to the site, and then it's every couple of years, I think, and so your logo can then potentially be chosen to be in the book. And I've got lots of friends who are designers who have had their logos put into Logo Lounge, which is, it's a nice thing to have done. It's probably not going to get you, lots of work, but, it's a nice thing to have your logo printed in a book. And I'll just put these on the floor. There are some other books. So like I say, I've not got many books here. This is an old one. This one's just called Logo Design. And again, they're all pretty much the same sort of thing, just logos listed. And the interesting thing actually is, when I look at Logo Lounge Volume 1, which is probably, 10, 15 years old, maybe something like that, maybe a little bit older, and then I look at the latest one, you can see a difference in the way logos are designed. Some of the logos in Logo Lounge 1 do look very dated compared to some of the logos now. So it's one of those things as well. I try not to follow trends. When I'm designing a logo, I try not to do something which is trendy, because the chances are that logo is going to become quite dated after a while. So I try not to do that. And then you've got books like this. So this is the Logo Design Idea book. I've been at this game for a long time, but I still need things to spark, the creative mindset. And books like this are quite good. I mean, this page here I've just opened up just says Arabic as a pattern, so it makes you think about things from a slightly different angle. And there's lots of books sort of along these lines. If you go to I'll put this in. I'm going to put another link into the chat, and don't worry, chat. I am going to go back and I'm going to catch up on anything that I've missed. So if you go to this web link that's in chat, and I'll open it up here as well. It has it has a lot of books that I recommend. So here, so I've got books that I like about brand strategy. I've got graphic design books, and then I've also got one which is logo reference books. So here you go. So Logo Modernism is a great book to have. It's lots of logos sort of from like the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. And they're all really simple logos. Most of them would have been designed by hand, no computers. So they are, they're quite simple, and some of them are amazing. And interestingly, you will see there's, so for example, I think it's Uber. So is it Airbnb or Uber? Might be Airbnb. One of them, the logo that they use is in this book, but it's like a 1960s Japanese steel company. So it just goes to show you that, you know, like I said earlier on in this live stream, the chances are when you design something, if it's simple, the more complex you make something, the more original it's likely to be because it's complicated. But the more simple you make a logo, chances are it's probably already been done. But, you know, Uber and Airbnb aren't in the same industry sector as a steel manufacturing company, so you kind of get away with it. So Logo Modernism is a great book. It's an expensive book, and it's massive. You probably need to build new shelves for it. It's really, really heavy, but it's a great reference book. And then I've got all the Logo Lounge books here. Logo Lounge also have some smaller books. I did have them here, but I think I've taken them back down to the office, and they're kind of like a condensed version, but they focus on specifics. So this one's crest logos, this one's symbols, this one's mythology and animals, and this one is type and calligraphy. So jump over there and you can kind of look at the different books that I have. Like I say, there's, you know, books on graphic design if you're needing some sort of help with your graphic design skills as well. Let's see. So I'm making a logo from clip art. Reminds me of making your emblem in Call of Duty. Yeah, you can make something awesome with the shapes and curves, but it's really hard. That's Tashinga just confirming that he thought it was plagiarism. I didn't say copy the clip art. I said use it as a reference. So, you know, if you're like, well, what's the shape of a hat? You know, I'm trying to think of the shape of a top hat. Then get a piece of clip art that's a top hat or a photograph. It's just the same as a photograph. And, you know, you're drawing a top hat. You're not tracing it. You know, it's to give you a reference. We all use references. You know, when we're trying to draw something, you need a reference. So, you know, we're not making a copy of it. We're not copying it. It's, you know, a reference is different. So I know what you mean, though, about, you know, potential plagiarism. If you're just basically copying a design, then yes, that's just, you might as well just use the actual design if you're just going to go that far with it. But as a reference tool, a reference image to get proportions, scale, then that's what I meant in terms of using it for reference. Right, okay. So let's jump back, see if there was anything else. Can I copyright a logo and sell shirts, or do I have to trademark it? So I actually answered that one in here. You don't need to copyright a logo to sell it. If it's a logo that you've created, you can sell that on shirts. There's no problem there at all. You don't have to trademark it. The copyright is yours. Different countries have different copyright laws. I know here in the UK, if I create a design, that the copyright of that design belongs to me because I've created it. I'm the owner. You can go a step further and you can trademark that design so that no one else can, you know, do that design. But yeah, you can just basically create your design, use one of the, you know, you could use like Teespring or Spreadshirt or whatever, and just, you know, put your logo on it and sell t-shirts. It's something that I've thought about doing for the YouTube channel, is like creating some rock your brand merchandise or, you know, stay creative t-shirts with a logo, whatever. And some people might want to buy one. I've just never got around to it. But yeah, you don't need to trademark it. You already own the copyright to that. The tricky thing is that when you do the design and you upload it and you start to sell t-shirts, then you'll probably find that scrupulous people will take your design and start selling it on t-shirts as well without giving you any credit or any money. You need to kind of keep your eyes peeled for that sort of stuff because it's just rampant. I see it all the time. I see it mostly coming from China, where they really just, no such thing as copyright as far as I'm aware, and that's where most of the sort of the, I suppose it's called bootlegging. So that's where most of the bootlegging goes on. They'll just basically take someone else's design or drawing and they'll start selling it on t-shirts. You see it in your Facebook feed, buy this t-shirt and it's probably someone else's design, but they just have they don't care about copyright and it's just about making money. I've had some friends who've had to, try to take legal action to get that stopped, and it's not something that I really have the time to deal with. So it's not something that I've done, but yeah. Thank you so much for your I can't remember what they call it. It's a donation, but I can't remember what they call it. Thank you so much. That's my very first one on YouTube. Oh, I need to take a screenshot. Right, I'm going to take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of this. For memories. Thank you so much. That'll go towards my holiday money. Brilliant, thank you. Super chat. That's it, Tashinga. That's the first time I've ever had a super chat. Oh, it's so exciting. Thank you so much. I feel embarrassed now that that's actually come in. Yeah, thank you. Never expected that to happen. No, I think you're right, Tashinga, it's super chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate it. I really, really do. So there was that question, and then I think that's it. So what time is it? All right, so we're coming up for an hour. I've got two logos in the background that I'm going to review. But just as I say that, Mobius8 has asked a question. You've already somewhat answered my question regarding perspective about seeing uniqueness in a world of a few billion logos. Thanks for that. So now I'm wondering how many options or variations you might create and present to a client. How often do you find a client seems to fight against what is probably better for them? That's a great question, right? That's a great question. I think I've talked about this before. Maybe not on this channel, but I've definitely talked about it when I've been on podcasts and things. So me, these days, I present one option to the client, one concept. And I say, this is the best concept for your brand. I don't give options. I used to give options like many, many other people. I used to give 3 to 5. I used to do 3 to 5 logo designs and say, which one do you like the best? Which one shall we go for? And some of you have probably experienced this, right? So you've said to the client, so let's just say 3, right? You've said, you're pitching your service and you're like, here's how I work and I'll give you 3 logo designs to choose from. You get 2 logo designs done that you're really, really happy with. You may be more happy with one of them. One's your definite favorite. You're like, this is the logo for them. But I've said I'm going to do 3, so I'm going to do this other one. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one. And then you're struggling with the third one. I've told them I'm going to have to do 3. So you just come up with something, right? You just do something so you've got 3, but you've got that one that you really think's the strong one, and you show the client 3. What happens? They go for the one that you just threw in at the last minute because you wanted to fill up the gaps. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it's happened to me more than once. And I then have to kind of try and get the client to move over to the one which is actually the one which is right for the brand. So the first thing I would say is, if you are doing multiple presenting multiple concepts, because some people like to do that because they might have different approaches. They might have the 3 logos may all work for the brand, but they take different directions, or they're looking at the brand from a different perspective, and that's fine. I never ask the client which logo, or I didn't towards the end when I was still doing that. I wouldn't say, which logo do you like? Which concept do you like? The question should be, which concept do you think works best for the brand? If you ask the client what logo do they like, you're probably going to get personal preferences. Like, oh, I don't like orange, or I don't like that typeface. I don't like triangles, whatever, right? But it might be that for that brand, if their target audience is a specific niche or industry, that orange might be the right color, or a sans serif may be the right type category to use. But the client's, oh no, I don't like sans serif, I want to use a serif. But if it's not right for the brand, then the logo's not right. So that was a massive change for me in my logo design journey, was changing that simple question from, do you like this? Do you like any of these? To which one of these do you think works best for the brand? That means that the client's making a decision based on the business and its goals, not what they personally like. Now, on saying that, you kind of want your client to like the logo that you've designed for them. But I found that as I get older and move forward in my career, I need to position myself as the expert. They're paying me money for my expertise. And so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say, this is the logo that works best for the brand because, and I can show them all of my research, all of the data that I found about their target audience, their competitors, their industry sector. And I say, and the reason we've chosen this typeface and this color is because it matches these results. If you just say, do you like this? Then it's like asking, do you like this painting? It's sort of personal taste. It's not based on business goals. And we need to remember that we're designers. We're solving problems. We're solving business problems. We're not creating art. Art's a different category. We're trying to solve problems. So always ask whether something that you're creating is solving the problem. Do you think this logo solves the problem that we think the brand is having? Or if it's for a brand new business, do you think this logo is going to attract our target audience? Is it going to, resonate with them? Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. And so the next step from me was to just not give them the choice, because they're paying me as the expert to create the best logo for their brand. So I shouldn't actually be giving them a choice. And it was very, very scary to move from giving multiple choices to saying, here you go. Now, it isn't, I'm not like, I don't go, here's your logo, pay me, that's it, goodbye. It's not as blunt as that. What we do is I have a lot of trust in my process, and I think that's the difference, is that I know that what I've produced is based on all of the research and all of the strategy work that I've done. So I'm very confident with it. And confidence is key as well. You have to be very confident when you present it. Because if you're not confident when you're presenting it, then the client's not going to be confident in the logo. So you must be very, very confident in what you're presenting to them. And that's something that you need to learn as well, is presentation skills. A lot of us are quite shy, nervous, but you have to get over that. Presentation is a huge part of selling the logo design. You have to be good at presenting, and you have to present it in the right way. Never just present the logo on a white page. Always show it in mock-ups. Show the client, let them visualize how this looks in the real world, because showing it on a white page doesn't really tell them anything. So a story again yesterday. I talked about I did a logo and presented a concept yesterday, which was a logo for an accountant. And at the start of the call, the client stopped me and just sort of said, right, Colin, before you show me what you've come up with, I just want to let you know that I've got a lot of trepidation. And if you don't know what trepidation means, it just means he's very nervous. He said, I'm very, very nervous about this because we've had our current logo for quite a long time. And I know that you're about to change that. And so I'm very, very nervous about it. And I was like, okay, that's quite understandable. You are going to be nervous. It's a big thing. You're away to change your brand. It's a whole new look, so that's quite scary. But let's go through this and I'll present it and then we can have a chat at the end. So I went through my presentation and I always go through my research and I show them where the logos come from, where the ideas come from, the story behind it and why it is what it is. And I did all that and I asked him, I said, okay, what are your trepidation levels like now? And this was before I said, do you feel this logo concept fits the brand? I just said, what are your trepidation levels like right now? And he went, actually, I don't have any. I was like, okay, what do you think of the concept? We've just gone through all of this. Do you think that this new concept reflects where you want to go with the brand? And he went, absolutely. And that isn't rare. I would say out of 100, I maybe get pushback on 5. And normally it's just because something's been missed. And so we go away and what will happen is I'll take that on board. And if it means going back and revisiting the concept and tweaking it a little bit, then I'll do that. But really, and this isn't an ego thing. This isn't me saying I'm always right. I'm saying if you have a process and you bring the client along on that process so that, you don't just, the client doesn't hire you and then you say, okay, I'll see you in 4 weeks with your new logo. That doesn't work because you're essentially surprising them when you show this. They're just like out of nowhere, this is very different. I'm not sure about this. I don't know how this is going to work. I involve my clients all along the process. I have check-ins with them. I let them know what's going on. I let them know what I've found out. Hey, did you know that this is, about your industry and that this is what's happening and this is where your customers and this is what they're complaining about and all of that stuff. And I bring them along the journey so that by the time we get to the point of presenting the concept, they're already on board with the changes which are going to happen and they know why certain changes are going to happen. And you need to educate your clients as well about color and typography, which is another reason as well, where you have to increase your prices in order to be able to do all of that work. If you're not charging a lot, it's difficult to get that work done. So I've kind of lost what the initial question was. I think it was number of concepts. So I've nothing against. If you want to continue delivering 3, 5, 7 concepts, that's fine. I'm absolutely fine with that. All I'm saying is you need to be aware that the client needs to understand why you've done that. And one other thing as well, when you present multiple concepts, and this may have happened to lots of you, is that the client will say, oh, I like that on that one, and I like the color of that, and I like the font on that, and I like the shape on that middle one. So can I have that, and can you bring those together? That's not how logo design works. It's not a pick and mix. It's not like a Mr. Potato Head where you've got a potato and you're just putting a hat on it and glasses and a beard, and making it look like me. Logos are designed with a specific, mindset and concept. So you may have designed 3 logos, but those logos have a definite concept. So if the client comes along and goes, I want that, and that, throw them together for me, it's a car crash of a logo. And then the client's taken control, and it's difficult to get that control back. You're the expert. As soon as the client takes control, you become a Mac monkey, and all you're doing is pushing pixels around a page. And that's definitely not what I want to be doing. I don't do logo design or graphic design to push pixels around for a client that isn't a designer. That's no good for me I'm only as good as my last job. My last job is what helps me to bring in new work. If I'm producing terrible work because a client's telling me what to do, then I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to catch up on the chat because I know I've been talking for quite a bit there. So what we're saying, so now I'm wondering, so how often do they fight against? So like I say, they don't really fight against it that much. If there is a fight against it, there's been a miscommunication. Something's not been said, or something's been missed out. That's generally what it is. It's rare that I'll have a major pushback. Esteban, type. How much do you have to change a type to make it a new one? I've seen so many that are too similar, but one is free and the other isn't. In terms of type, do you mean like making up actual typefaces, or do you mean changing type in a logo? I've never created a whole typeface myself, but there's many times, and I did another logo not long ago where I found a font that I really liked, and changed and worked on the letters to make them more bespoke, and kind of introduced new shapes and new angles to them so that it actually represented the brand feeling more, and changed the colors on it. If I'm going to do a word mark for a logo, no symbol, just text, then yeah, I'm unlikely to just find a typeface, choose a font from that typeface, type out the brand name and go, there you go. I don't like that. I always have to put my hands on it and make tweaks so that it kind of fits more in keeping with the brand. Even if I'm creating a combination mark where there's a symbol and a word mark, I will probably still make some tweaks to the word mark. String is saying, so could we say giving few options on a client's logo could show lack of confidence? No, I wouldn't say to Shinga that it shows a lack of confidence. What I would say shows a lack of confidence is when I see logo designers say $100, 7 concepts, unlimited revisions. The worst thing ever. I don't like writing blog posts, but was it a blog post or was it a video? I can't remember. But I did one, and it was kind of a rant about unlimited revisions. I think that shows a lack of confidence. If you're having to just continually make revisions and revisions and revisions, it means that what you've come up with is so far away from being the right logo that you shouldn't have presented it in the first place. At most, I would say, one round of revisions to just, maybe bring in some of the, to get the logo over the line. The clients will be like, well, okay, can we maybe just do this then? And if it's within the, if you feel it's not going to kind of change the logo too much, you go, yeah, okay, we'll do that, one round of revisions. But, even like, 5 rounds of revisions is too much. I do genuinely believe that, yes, that shows a lack of confidence in your output. But I've seen so many designers that say unlimited revisions until you're happy. It's just makes me laugh. It makes me laugh. It's like all that's going to happen is the client's just going to be like, can I see it with this font? Can you change this color? I want to see this font now, and then change that color. And you're going to absolutely detest working with that client. And it's all, and the clients that do that are the ones that don't pay much money or won't pay you much money. I can tell you for a fact that the more money I charge, the better clients I get, because those clients understand design, they understand the value of design, and they understand that they're not the expert. And so they'll listen and they take on board and they want to learn. And so they're on the journey with you so that, when you present the logo, yeah, they may have some questions about it. You discuss that, and then you alleviate those concerns that they have, and then you move on to their branding materials. I've been where everybody else is at the start of their journey. I think when I started as a designer on my own, I think I was charging maybe £75 for a logo, which is what, $100 for a logo. And I was doing 3 to 5 concepts, probably 3 rounds of revisions. And some of those logo jobs took forever, and they weren't the best logos, because in the end, I'd ended up just creating what the client wanted rather than what was right for their business. Whereas these days, obviously I charge more, but I also spend way more time on it. I can do way more research, way more strategy work, and it allows me to spend more time with the client. When I was charging $100, I was having to do 20 times more work than I'm doing now for 20 times more clients to pay my bills. Whereas where I'm now charging more, so I need to do less projects to earn the same or more than I did back then. So you have more time to spend on things. So, increasing your pricing does have a benefit for the client. It's not all, it's not all about costs. If you charge more, the value that you can give is probably more than how much you're putting up. So let's say you're charging $100 and you put your logo pricing up to $200. The value you'll probably be able to give, because you can spend more time, is probably worth more than the extra $100. You're probably giving them a $500 value logo because you're able to spend more time. Because we all do way more work than we charge for as designers, because we're a lot of us are people pleasers. But because of that people pleasing, what you can do is you can give control to the client, and that's not the right thing to do. So you do have to become the expert, and you have to say no. And that's the toughest thing, and that's one of the hardest things that I had to learn to do, was to say no to the client. When a client says, can we do this with the logo? No. And here's why. As long as you can back it up and say, this is why it's not a good idea to use blue in this logo, then the client will be hopefully understanding of that and take it on board. I had that experience with the one yesterday, where I wished I hadn't, but I'd shown a sketch. I'd shown some sketches just to give them an idea of how the logo had developed. And one of those sketches, the client latched onto, and I like that. And it was kind of like 3D with gradients and stuff. And I said to them, I just said no. I said, that was just me sketching and brainstorming and trying things out. I said, the reason we don't want to use that as the logo is because it looks dated. It looks like it's from about the year 2000 with gradients and sort of Web 2.0. We can't use that as the logo. It's not going to last for you, which is why I'm presenting this concept, which is the same conceptual idea, but it's more simplified and it will stand the longer test of time. And the client said, cool, I understand. Let's move on. So just stand your ground. Don't be afraid to stand your ground. You're the expert. They're paying you money to create a logo for them. Otherwise, they'd be doing it themselves. So just take a stand. Stick up for your work. And most clients will respect that. If you find that the client's like, no, I want you to do what I want to do, then you know what? See, for those clients, do what they want to do, get paid, and then never work with them again. It's as clear as that for me. I would rather work with clients that want to work with me and have an understanding of the value I can bring. I don't want to be a pixel pusher for people. It's just not what I want to do. See, I don't want to miss anybody out. James is saying, as a new entrepreneur who's currently going through the rigor of coming up with a logo and working with artists, this is interesting. Cool, thanks, James. Can we have a stream where you design a logo live and your process? That would be a long stream. That'd be a long stream. Generally, when I do logos, it's about 8 weeks. It's an 8-week process. most of that strategy work, doing all the research, which I then bring together and design the logo. But yeah, we could maybe do something like that. It may be that it's, you know, something that's done over a number of weeks, maybe like a check-in, you know, so I could be doing it in the background. But honestly, right now I'm in no position to do that. I have a lot of client work on. That's why I've not done many edited videos for the channel. I just haven't had the time. So I'm glad I'm able to do these live streams with you and spend, you know, a couple of hours on a Thursday and still hopefully help you guys all, you know, move forward and learn more about design and logos and things. It's really useful to me to keep in touch with you guys until I can get the time back to start creating edited videos again. That, you know, anyone can kind of find and use. But I will keep that in mind, and, you know, we'll maybe do something like that. It might be that, you know, rather than do the whole process in one, I can do a little section on, here's this part of my process, and then, you know, a few weeks down the line, okay, here's where I would go next, and this is what I would do. But I've been looking at maybe doing a Skillshare course as well on that, something like do with that. Mobius 8, a boost of confidence about remembering the confidence that comes from work already put in. I guess these days I usually do 6 variations for myself as developed sketches, then only present one. Yeah, that's it. I don't just sit down and you know, think of one concept and just develop that. My sketchbooks are full of concepts, but they're usually not right. It's just idea generation to get to the right concept. So yeah, and you can then maybe take 3 or 4 and go, those have something about them. So yesterday on the call that I presented, I had 3 concepts which I was keen on, but one of them just felt like the right one. And so I was like, this is the one I'm going to present. And I just basically created the presentation deck as to why that was the right logo for them. And like I say, they were happy with it, which was really, really good. And yeah, collaborate with the client. You know, some clients, and this is the thing as well with clients, some clients want to pay you to get the job done because they haven't the time to be involved. When a client comes to me, I inform them that if they want to work with me, they have to be involved. If they're not going to be involved, then unfortunately I can't work with them because I wouldn't be able to give them the best solution because I need their input. And I've done that a few times, you know. I won't just leave them hanging. I'll pass them on to someone else that I know, you know, another logo designer, and that other logo designer may be happy to work with them on that basis, but it's not how I work. So collaboration for me is key to coming up with the best ideas. Ephraim, thanks for your time on the show. It's a great and informative question. What is the realistic period, number of days, would a logo design take to completion? How long is a piece of string, really? I've come up with the right concept for a logo design in a couple of hours. Others have taken me a long time, like weeks, to come up with, just because it's been a complex maybe a complex industry, a busy industry sector, and you're just trying to get something that stands out. But in general, when a client comes to me, I tell them it takes roughly about 8 weeks to do a logo design. It can be slightly quicker, or it can take slightly longer. Now, I'm not working on their logo every single day for 8 weeks. The reason it's 8 weeks is because I'm working on other client projects. I would say in total, the total amount of time, on average, I probably work on a logo for about 40 to 60 hours is maybe the total amount of time. So a large part of that will be the research time. Then I'll have the concept development time, and then kind of the polishing off and, you know, finalizing the concept and stuff. I've never really, it's quite bad, I've never actually kept a time log of it. I know some people do. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, you know, how long it would be. I'm thinking, sort of, 40 to 60 hours, maybe something like that. And again, like I say, I charge the fee that allows me to spend that amount of time on it. If you're charging $50 for a logo and you spend 40 to 60 hours on that logo, divide, $50 by, let's average it 50 hours, you're getting paid $1 an hour. I wouldn't want to get paid $1 an hour. So it's just, try to work out what you want to do. Now, like I say, I'm not spending 40, 50 hours designing the logo. A large part of that allows me to do research, a lot of research. And it's the research which forms my process, which gives me the confidence that what I'm eventually going to draw is the right thing. And it's that research and process that gives the client the confidence that what I'm presenting is a well thought out and developed logo design. And I think that goes a long way to, having clients sign off on the logos. Esteban said this, Tashinga, that's okay. When you're free, we'll be there. So Esteban, I take it you're meaning this to Ephraim's question about how long does it take. So sometimes it's, sometimes it can be fairly quick, because sometimes you just have one of those clients where you're like, I have the perfect idea for this. And it just kind of flows. You just have those projects that flow. But I will be honest and say that most of the time, it's, for me, logo design is hard work. I see there's lots of designers out there who are just super talented and the creativity just flows. But I think there's a difference as well. And this is sort of why I said I don't do critiques for 30-day logo challenges, because I don't feel that those have the same limitations on them as it does when you're working with a real business. There's a lot at stake, especially if it's a rebrand. You have to make sure that you're doing the right thing, because it could have a negative effect on the business if you just rush it and it's not right. If you're doing a 30-day logo challenge, what's the worst that can happen if you do a crap logo design? Nothing, because it's just a challenge. So there's no real pressure on you to make sure you're doing all of the right research and spending all the right time and asking all the right questions, compared to when you're working with a real life client. And that's why I would say, if you want to do challenges for yourself, there's plenty of businesses out there, charities, non-profit organizations who are real life clients that you can offer your services to and practice the skill of asking questions and presenting to real people. Because even though you're doing it for free, they have an image they have a brand that they're trying to protect. So they will push back on it, Even though you're doing it for free, they're going to want to have their brand presented in, the right way and have a good logo for it. So they're going to be asking questions of you, and that's going to give you the experience that will help you to grow and help you to understand yourself and understand your processes, which will then help you to increase your pricing. It'll help you, your presentation skills will also help you to win new clients, because you'll be able to present yourself better. If you're just going to sit and do logo challenges, nobody is challenging you. It's a challenge to use the software, but in terms of challenging you to become a better designer, I don't think it's a good use of your time. And it's something I've always felt strongly about. I would much rather people are doing work for real people, and having interactions, pushback. And it's not always negative. It's not all about the pushback. It's also about the praise. Oh, I really love how you presented that, or I really like how you've described that to us. And it also gives you the opportunity to become a teacher, to educate people about design. And one thing I learned about even doing stuff like this is that as designers, a lot of what we end up doing over time is muscle memory. You start to be able to do things just intuitively. When you have to explain to someone what it is that you do, you have to be able to explain it in a logical way and in a logical order that that person who's never done it before can understand. And that actually makes you a better designer, because it makes you think about everything that you do, and it lets you see where you're maybe missing a step, because you're like, oh yeah, I do this, and then I don't understand, how do you get from that to that? And it makes you think about it. And I know that from starting my YouTube channel 6 years ago, I became a better teacher of clients because I had to order everything into my head in a logical way. And what that also helped me do was develop my process. So by having to write down my process so that I could tell people what it is that I do, so that they understood the value that they were getting, that helped my business grow, because I now had a developed process that I could use as part of my sales funnel. If you don't have that, you're just basically saying, I can do you a good logo, pay me some money. How do you do that? Oh, I'll just draw you the right logo. You haven't really got the vocabulary or the process to sell. As soon as you can make that a thing, that's where the value lies. That's when you can start to charge more. You know, a lot of value is in having a process. So hopefully that's useful information to you. Hello, take it easy. I'm a graphic designer. Hey, Erkan, how you doing? Erkan saying monogram logo and minimal logos are popular these days. Yeah, they sure are. I'm a big fan of simple logo design, but as we all know, simple is hard, complicated is easy. And I've seen some really lovely, beautiful, intricate logos. Obviously you have issues at small sizes. A lot of those details can get lost, so you have to have a simplified version in some way. But I'm a massive fan of really simple designs and monograms. Esteban saying, if you're only doing challenges, you're not being challenged. Right? Did I say that? Did I? Okay. I can say a lot and forget what I've said. I don't know how many of you subscribe to my newsletter. I've got this isn't just a crappy pitch to sign up to my newsletter. It's just from what Esteban said. I'd written in my newsletter that went out Monday, I think, this week, and it was the topic was how to come up with your brand onlyness. And I think at the start of that email, I said how to become a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if I've maybe heard it from someone else, and I'm just reiterating it. But if nobody has said that, I'm thinking about owning that phrase in terms of selling my brand services. Rock your brand, become a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. What do you think? Anybody think that's good? Yeah, I'm probably going to run with that. I'll get a t-shirt. Be a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. Rock your brand. Sell that on the YouTube channel. See how many of those I sell. Right, what time is it? Right, okay, that's an hour and a half. If people want to hang around, then we could have a look at a couple of logos that were sent in. I'm happy to kind of go for another 30 minutes if my voice will hold up. So let me just bring up. So I've got two. I'm just going to do two today. So let me bring up the desktop. Right. So yeah. So don't be go stealing my catchphrases and my mottos now. Okay. I've lived a long time to be able to try to come up with things like that. It's like taking me 25 years. Right, so let's have a look at this. So this is from Adam James. I don't know if Adam, if you're in the chat or not. I don't think I saw your name. Brand name is, I don't know if it's Tudball or Tudball. I'll say Tudball. Construction, industry sectors, groundworks and construction. Target audience, home and business owners and / renters who require groundworks to their property. The brand personality, the owner of the company is young and wanted the brand to portray a younger, fresher feel than traditional construction companies. Brand qualities, mid-range cost, reliable service, high quality results. Other information, the client wanted an eye-catching logo that was simple and easy to remember. Wanted some tools included in the logo along with the company name. The logo type represents a shovel and the first letters in the company name T+C. And the color was the client's choice. The logo was to be used on his printed media, merch, social media, and company vehicle. So, hey GraphicNet, I'm not sure what you mean by graphic design replace. Maybe expand on that a little bit. So let's zoom in here. So we can see here where Adam has said he's taken the shovel and he's bringing in the T and the C element. I'm not sure if I see the C. I mean, we've got we've got this shape here, potentially a C. Starting to get some comments in. Please, if you have any comments on the logo or you've got some feedback, type it in the chat. I always will kind of have a look at that. I can definitely see the T. I'm not sure about the C, and I can see the shovel element that you're going for here. When I first looked at this, before I saw your logo, before I saw the information in the email, because they come through in two separate places to my system, and I saw your logo first, I actually thought this looked more like a screw going into like a wall. My brain's not working. A plug. You put the plug in the wall first, and then you put the screw into the wall plug to hold the screw in. That's what that looked like to me, or a nail going in. But I can see what you mean now about it being a shovel. But I still saw it, even if it didn't have construction. If that just said, if it just sort of said, Tudball, right? So let's just say it was something like that, right? I probably would have guessed that it was something to do with construction. It just feels like a construction type logo, which is a great sign. I think that's definitely, it has that feel about it. It does look modern. I'll say it does look modern to an extent, but there's something about this font that doesn't quite sit with me right. And I think maybe what it is I think it may have been used for something like Star Trek. I think it's like Star Trek used this font or something. I don't know. There's something to do with the C and the S. It reminds me of Star Trek. I can't get it out of my head. But that's not a comment on your logo. It's just that for me personally, I see that. I kind of like the little. Let's zoom in so that everyone can see this a little bit better. Easier to kind of focus on the type that way. I like the little rounded bit and then the straight bits in here. It gives character to the type, which you want. I'm always a big fan of having character. It's also one of those ones where it's almost, there's sort of a mix of uppercase and lowercase. So this N here is like a lowercase n, and you've got like the uppercase R. Really, it's the N's which look lowercase. So it's I do like it. One thing I would say is what you've done is you've aligned this letter C to the edge of the T, And optically, when you look at that, it looks like the C is actually overshooting the rest of the word. So when you have a letter like that, what I would generally do is I would align it with the bottom of the stem. So I would this bottom left corner here, this point here, this one here is generally where I would have this C line up, so that when you're looking at the word, it now looks like it's left aligned, even though it's in by, you know, quite a bit of a distance. When you look at it, it actually looks more natural, whereas when you line it up with the with this edge here, it looks like it's been pushed out, so it doesn't quite work. So that's just one very small tweak that I would make to that. Let's see what some of the chat are saying. Sani's saying the type was only one weight, mix it up for contrast. Yeah, I mean, it's construction does feel a bit tight as well, so potentially that could be a little bit thinner, but I don't know if that would off balance. I think it's quite well balanced. I think the weight in this side is balancing quite well with the weight on this side. The brightness of the orange really pulls your eye, but the weight and size on this side is actually, for me, quite nicely balancing the two sides out. I think if you change the weight of this, I think this would then become sort of top heavy on the right hand side. I'm not sure. I don't have this particular font. I think it was called. Actually, you know what? When I opened this document, the font I think was called Excelsior, and I'm pretty sure there's a starship in Star Trek called the Excelsior, and I think that's why that font is called this, and I think that's why it probably reminds me of Star Trek. I think that's the link. So I think I'm Tommy is saying turn it and thinks the C is there. So yeah, if you turn it, then you've got a C, but you know, then you then the shovel's on its side. And now to me that looks even more like a screw going into a wall plug. Sani's saying the bottom looks like a hand, like that. Sort of a hand holding the T. Is that what you mean? Could be that. I also sort of saw, and this is the thing with logos, you can see lots of things in logos. I also thought it kind of looked like a very abstract face, you know, so you kind of got eyebrows here, and then you've got this nose, and then these are the cheeks, you know, so it's kind of like almost like a Spartan helmet, like without the outside part. You've just got the inner nose guard with the eyes and the cheek guards. So that to me actually as well sort of lends itself to the construction side, that sort of I don't know, masculine side of things. And I know there's a lot of females in construction, but it's just generally it's a fairly masculine industry, and it kind of comes across there. So it's sort of, you know, it's got that face about it. I'm not saying that, you know, but I can clearly see where you've got the shovel kind of thing coming in there. But for me, I think it's stronger as a screw into a wall, you know, bringing things together. The shovel is like kind of, you know, is going to be reminiscent of excavating and stuff like that. But generally, they use machines for that these days. Very rarely will you get in with a shovel. But, you know, having a screw fixing things together is constructing. So I would probably have, I don't know if this has probably been approved now, and you're just asking for some feedback on it. But I think it's a strong symbol. I think it does get across what you've said, but I do think it could also be other things related to that industry. I don't mind I think the type does look modern. Just want to check some of the things here. One of the things I would say is, you've said the colorway was the client's choice. I think in this instance, the color is probably right. I do think it represents the qualities that he wanted it to have, to be younger, more modern, bit of energy to it. Orange is going to do that. Just be careful though of just giving the client what they want. Get them to explain why they want that, and if it's just a case of it's my favorite color, again, sometimes you won't be able to get that out of their head, and you may just have to go with it. But always challenge it. Why should we be using this? Do we feel this is the right color for the brand? Like I say, in this instance, I think it works. I think it works really good on a cap. This is the great thing about simple symbols, is you can do some really, really strong things with it, like the 3D puff embroidery, that sort of stuff. Nice big prints on the back of high vis safety jackets, things like that. I know you get high vis in yellow, but you also get high vis in orange. So you could have this in orange, and then the reflective visibility part would look really good printed in the symbol. That would be really, really nice to see on a high vis jacket as well. And it stands out. I think you could probably be a little bit more creative with the vehicle rather than just having the logo on the side. You could I spend too much time on this, but I would be really tempted to take the logo and just make it big and have it crop it out. This is going to be again another shoddy clipping mask, but just have it so that it looks like it's sort of wrapping around the vehicle. Well, that didn't work, did it? Oh, it's because it's not grouped. Right, so let's select that, group that, and then make a clipping mask. So just that's pretty crap, but you know what I mean. Just sort of make use of the side of the van, and then what you could do is have the symbol there, and then you can still have the full logo, but have the full logo sort of do something which is doesn't take much. You don't have to like sweat over it for hours, but it's a really nice symbol, so do something with it, so that when it's driving down the street, people are like, "Ooh, what's that?" and it catches their eye. It's always a good way of doing it, just having a logo on the side. For me, I feel it's a waste of a great opportunity. I think vehicle graphics are probably the most cost-effective way of advertising, especially these types of businesses or local shops or something, because vehicles are driving around all the time and you're getting so many different pairs of eyes landing on it. It's different, like newspaper adverts. You have to rely on someone buying the newspaper on that specific day. If they don't buy it on that day and that's the day that you've advertised, then that's your money gone. Something like this is around for a long time. So, I think it's a really cost-effective way of getting your brand across. Mobius is saying, rounded and lowercase hybrid font seems to defeat the point of foundation. I really like the logo. Well, it's a bit like Transformers. I think the bottom angles connecting might help the spade shape. Yeah, it does. That's why I saw the face in it as well. It has got that kind of robots in disguise look to it. And I know what you're saying as well about potentially sort of, if you join these two across, you could either do it, I suppose, you could either do it as a point, or you could just, fill it in to try to get more of that spade shape. But yeah, we could all kind of say little things about it, but overall, I think it's a good logo, Adam. I think you've done a good job. And if it is, if it has gone ahead, then hopefully you've got some good things coming up for it, and you can make use of this symbol in a cool way. Okay, so right, let's have a look at logo number 2. Try to fit this in before we end at 9 o'clock. Right. Okay, so this one is from Matt. And this is a personal project. Okay, so this isn't for an actual client. This is a personal project. So I'm not sure if Matt was given this brief or if he's made this up for himself. So we'll just read through. There's quite a bit of information. And I want to read through this on purpose. Right. So industry sector, social media technology, entertainment, news and publishing. Target audience, creatives, storytellers, journalists, public relations specialists, professional and amateur historians, amateur poets. It's quite the mix. Brand personality, multifaceted, welcoming, accepting, inclusive, creative, but can be newsy if it needs to be, somewhat playful and action orientated, ageless and timeless, but also forward thinking, very slightly futuristic, perhaps connecting to the past, present, and future. That's a lot. That's a lot. Brand qualities, multifaceted, quick stories, creative but can be newsy if need be, inclusive, not really tied to any time period, ageless, timeless, but also forward thinking, very slightly futuristic, perhaps connecting the past, present, and future. Other information. EHAS is an acronym for Everyone Has a Story. It's pronounced EHAS. Please check out the prototype I designed for the smartphone app, which I do have open. Right, so you had this little, hopefully you guys can see this. So he has this little, everyone has a story, it's time to tell yours. And then, you can click on sign up and stuff. So there's not much I can see that actually, you just got that, really. So you're just seeing it on screen there. So let's go back into this. The product would ultimately be a cross-platform tool that would also include a web browser. For the typeface, I've used Black Chancery, but I rotated the A. I think when he says he rotated it, he means he's flipped it. Logo symbols mean storytelling by video, writing, and audio. In addition to reflecting the audio qualities, someone told me that the curved lines could also represent networking. Not my intention, but also good. Right. Okay, so there's a lot going on there, Matt. Too much. There's too much going on. It's very confusing. I get what I kind of get what you're trying to do. I think you're trying to create a platform that allows people who are creative in the realm of writing in some way. So it gives them a platform or a tool to be creative, whether that be through poetry, journalism, storytelling. I'm not sure where the public relations specialists comes into it. I kind of get a feeling for that, but if I didn't see any of this information, and I just saw the logo, now I'm going to preface this by saying I do not expect a logo to tell me what somebody does, what a company does. Some people disagree with that and say that the logo should clearly give you an idea of what it is that the company does. I'm not that way inclined. Okay. But this is kind of a confusing one. So there's a couple of things I want to touch on. And I don't want to be like super negative about it. I'm just, I think it's one of these things you've submitted your logo, so hopefully you're up for, a critique on this. So I think you've got either you've got too many target audiences, or you've just not explained it concisely enough. This is like trying to be something for everyone. So, it's the ageless, timeless thing, forward thinking, slightly futuristic, but ageless and timeless at the same time, but connects the past, the present, and the future. It's, if anything, I would say this connects the past. It looks very, very dated. It looks old-fashioned, and that's because of the typeface. Black Chancery is what I would call a classical font, or a classical typeface, for the whole font family. It doesn't say slightly futuristic to me. It doesn't even say present to me. It says old to me, and that's compounded with these graphics. They're not very well drawn. I mean, the lines here are, so you've got this very geometrically perfect triangle. You've got this pencil, which is very geometric, and then you've got these hand drawn, obviously with the pen tool, and they're not geometric. If you wanted that to match in, then you should have probably drew 3 circles and then halved them, deleted half, and then you would have had concentric, and that probably would have helped a bit with this, but I find it confusing. And it was only after I read where was it, this bit here, down here, that says storytelling by video, that it actually clicked with me that this was meant to be a play button to represent play for video. But because you've got the pencil going across the bottom, I thought the pencil was like the baseline. So I thought that this triangle was actually pointing up to the left, because I thought that it was sitting on the pencil, but actually you've got it as a play button pointing to the right. I'm just the sim. It's quite confusing. I know what you're trying to do. You're getting in the writing, the video, and the audio, but this, and you've got this as sort of red and red going to orange. Is this meant to represent like an engine, like forward, like, so that's like the thrust going forward? I'm just not sure about it. It's not really working for me. And then there's something funny about the text as well, because the A and the S are much larger than the E and the H, so it's kind of going, well, no, it is. It's actually, it goes lower than the baseline as well. So if we bring the rulers up and we get the top and the bottom, for some reason the A and the S are way different in terms of size. So as Sani's kind of said, he's sort of agreeing with me. It's not clear, and I think you do need to simplify it, and I think you need to just go back and take a look at type, and look at the categories of type, and the sort of the feelings and emotions that type can give. You could even look back at previous Rocky Brand live streams. I'm sure I did one that was about logos and fonts, and how to kind of choose fonts. That might be useful for you to have a look through. I just feel right now it is very confusing. I like the idea of what it is that you're trying to, that you were trying to come up with, this platform for people to go in and be creative. And I know you said down here that someone said that, the lines could represent networking. I'm presuming what you mean by networking is like Wi-Fi networking, and not people networking. But I would have said that the app is probably going to be better for people to network with one another. And if that's the case, then this isn't the right kind of networking symbol. This is more of a communication networking symbol for Wi-Fi, like Wi-Fi signals and stuff. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. One thing that would really help is I think you need to go for a font which matches all of these kind of qualities that you want to get across, and then I would simplify this down. There's definitely something in this where I think you could get this simplified right down into one symbol. I mean, for example, the tip of the pencil is a triangle. The play button is a triangle. And then if you did something with the audio symbol, and if there was some way to pull all of those three things together into one nice simplified mark, and you got the right font, something that looked more timeless, like you're trying to get, and there's lots of fonts that could be timeless. If you are looking for timeless, go for think about something like Futura. Futura looks modern, but it was developed in the 1930s. So it's coming up for being 100 years old, but it still looks modern today. So you could change the EHAS to Futura and simplify that symbol down, and you could probably have quite an effective looking logo. The elements and ideas are there. The execution just needs to be better on them. So I would just take everything that you have there, and I would simplify down, and look at a different type. In terms of color, I'm not sure the colors are right. The yellow on the blue certainly stands out, but again, I'm not sure that it lends itself to the area that you're looking for. So I always, this is in your mind, this may have been sort of more of a finalized logo, but when you go back and you start to try to simplify this, just work in black and white first of all, so that you're making sure you're keeping an eye on the balance of everything, and then start to introduce color. I'd love to see, if you watch this back, I would love to see where you take this. So, if you do develop this further, I would love to see it. So, please submit it again in future, and then we can maybe revisit this on the live stream and let people see how your logo has developed after, getting some feedback on it. Let's have a look at the chat. Tashinga saying, in my opinion, at first glance, this feels like something that is linked to maths or measurements because the triangle looks like a set square. 100%. I thought it was something like that. I thought EHAS was going to be some sort of maths platform or something like that. That's a great point. This is why the chat's really good, because it helps bring back some initial, because I looked at this for the first time today. I tried to leave looking at these till just before the call so that my feedback is very fresh on them. Mobius 8 saying, this feels like a collection of sketches more than a logo. It might also help to not try building off a background field. Yep. Exactly why I think, it needs to be done in black and white, not on a blue block, or even a black block and white. Just develop it without these squares around it, because even having even if we talked about the squares, right? Let's just say we're like, oh yeah, the symbol's fine. The spacing around this is all wrong. You need to let things breathe. So this would need to have, a fair bit of space around it, to give it enough. And there's like, this had 1 million clipping masks on it as well. So you want to give it enough room to breathe around as well. It's just when it's not got much space, everything's just so crammed, like it's like fighting to get out of the box. Spacing is better in this. So this one again, there's probably enough space top and bottom, but left and right there isn't enough. So you need to give things room to breathe when you're putting things in boxes. Like I say, this bottom one's probably the best one of all of them. But like I say, you need to go back and have another look at this. What you're trying to achieve is good. You just aren't there with it yet. So best of luck with this. And like I say, keep me up to date. I'd love to see how this develops and how you take it forward. And we'll be saying there's a ton of asks for this design, but it will help to seek a center to all that old and future stuff, and I'd like to see a revision to it. Yeah, I think there's too much going on. I think the core idea of building a space that creative writers can come together and send in their creations, whether it be written word, something they've written and they're speaking as audio, or something they've written and they've recorded as video. There's something around that. So the pencil, the play button, and the audio symbol represent those three things. How can you bring that together as one cohesive conceptual mark and then find the right type to go with it? I think when you get that, it'll be a really, really good logo. And remember, you're using this as an app. So the logo is going to have to be reproducible at small sizes. So, it has to be simple so that it can be reduced down and still be very clear. And one of the things that, I kind of noticed is that one of the problems you're going to have with Black Chancery is that there are very thin strokes on the text. And some of them will start to disappear if you try to move this down any further. And I noticed as well that you don't actually use the symbol on this. And actually, the symbol is what you want to use on an app, especially for the app icon, because that's what people are going to look at on their smartphones. It's just going to be, it's a list of icons. So you want it to be, this. You want it to be, let's get this in focus, simple, memorable, distinctive, and appropriate. And it's not an easy ask to do that. But if logo design was easy, we'd all be doing it. Hey Camille, you've just joined just as we're finishing up. We've had a 2-hour live stream tonight, over 2 hours now, and my voice is given out. I think it's been a good Q&A. Hopefully you got stuff from it. I would just like to again reiterate a massive thank you to Plugged In for sending me my very first super chat on a live stream. You've absolutely made my evening. It does actually make me feel like a rock star, as Camille has said, to get that. Hey Camille, hopefully you'll watch, you can go back through the live stream, and the benefit of going through the live stream on a replay is you can skip stuff. If you find them getting boring, you can just skip me 5 minutes. But it's 2 hours of solid gold. That's what I'll say. There's been a lot of stuff discussed, a lot of chat about how many concepts should we do or present as a logo designer. How long should you spend on it as a logo designer? I talked a lot about how to what you should do when you're presenting, how you should deal with clients. Yeah, it was a good one. I'm glad I did it, and I think there's probably room to do it again, because I think there will be more questions. I'll probably put a little question up on the community tab on the YouTube page. How do people feel about I've done 2 full sessions where we just review logos, and then this session has gone on way longer than I thought, but it's been worth it. Or do we kind of do half sort of Q&A discussion about a topic and then a couple of logo reviews is that a better way to do it, to kind of mix it up and, you know, mix up the live streams? I'll put up a question and you can let me know if you think that's a good way to go. Tashinga, thank you for coming on to the stream. I say it every week. It wouldn't be anything without you guys turning up. I can talk. I could talk to this camera and say some stuff about logos, but the interaction from you guys is great because you ask me questions, which is good to give answers to, but you also ask things and give feedback that help form the stream and what, you know, and what we're all talking about. And I could talk about stuff that maybe people don't care about or don't want to know. So knowing that I'm getting questions and answering things that people are maybe struggling with or just are curious about, then I know that the streams are being useful. So that's a good use of my time, to know that the streams are being useful. So thanks again. Plugged in, I'm going to have a look and see if there's something. I don't know. I don't know anything about super chats. I really don't. I don't know if somebody gives a super chat, can you get like a special emoji or something? I don't know. Or is that memberships? I don't know. I don't know anything about this side of things, so I'm going to have to look into that. But again, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, and it was unexpected. So I should have been speaking to you all full screen. I keep forgetting to switch over. Thank you to was it Adam? Thank you to Adam, and thank you to Matt for, again, being brave souls and sending in your logos for critique. I hope you've learned something from the advice today, and you can take that forward for future logo work, and also if you want to make any tweaks or changes to the logos that we reviewed today. I should be back again next week. I've got plenty of logos to review. You've all been sending in quite a few. You can send them in to ryb.rocks/logo, and that will take you to the submission page. And I'm just basically working my way through them. As I say, I'm not doing them in the order that they come in. I'm just choosing ones which I think would be good for the stream. So if you do submit a logo and it doesn't come up, I'm not going to be able to do them all because I've got so many. I'm kind of picking ones that I think we can learn specific details from. If you submit it and it's not on the next week, it could be on 4 weeks from now. I am just going through them all, so have patience with me. Let's see. I'll just one last read. Shane saying, could you give tips on questions for the first meeting with a client? I don't want to rush that, Shane. So what to do is, if you go onto the community tab on the Rock Your Brand YouTube channel, and in the thread for today's stream, just write that question, and then what I'll do is I will know that that's there and I will answer it on the next stream. I hope that's okay, because I'd like to give you a full answer, and I don't want to keep this stream going for too much longer. Plugged in, appreciate the live stream, looking forward to the course. So I am working on that course. I don't know when it will be ready, but you guys will be the first to know. I am trying to get some accountability for it to get it done. It'll be set up and it'll be up and running on a what shall we call it? I think they call it minimum viable product, right? So it'll be something to get it up and running, and I'll probably need some people to test it with. And so I may reach out to get some people to test it, just to get it up and running, just to get it going, because I know that it will be helpful to people, and then I can improve it and develop it as it goes along. But I'll keep you all aware. And then we'll be saying thanks, Cole. Great stream today. Waiting for a unicorn shirt. You know what? I need to do something. I need to do something. We all want to be a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. I can't draw. I wish I was a brilliant illustrator, because I can picture it in my head how it would look, but I can't draw. I'm terrible at it. But maybe if it deliberately if it deliberately looks bad, you know, a terrible drawing of a unicorn with terrible drawings of donkeys, that might be even funnier. I don't know. But I'm definitely going to have to do something with that. So we'll call it an end there. Stay creative, and I will see you all next week on the Rocky Brand live stream. Bye for now.